Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Oh, sorry, I'm a little bit late coming on just for a change. Just had to sort a few things out. Um, Let me put my banner up. So, I hope you're all well. In this video, we're going to talk about three cases, three American cases. We're going to talk a little bit about the Spencer Tepe and Monique Tepe case, the dentist and his wife that were murdered in their own home, brutally murdered. No arrests yet. No real developments yet. I just wanted to say a little bit about Spencer from somebody who knew him. Seems like he was such a nice guy. This is a real mysterious case, isn't it? Because the motive is inexplicable, really, isn't it? Was it a targeted attack? Was it a robbery gone wrong? Was it mistaken identity? It really is a complete sort of mystery. It seems to me that it's probably somebody who knew them that did it. Um, anyway, I'm going to talk about that and why I think that and see what you think. Then that's who we're going to talk about first. Then I'm going to talk about what happened at the arraignment for Nick Reiner yesterday. So that was a revelation, wasn't it? Nick Reiner, of course, he's murdered his famous parents just before Christmas. Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner. Rob, of course, very famous for films and acting, and Michelle, his wife, also famous for photography, a sort of more or less a Hollywood sort of golden couple almost, been together many years, um, seem like really nice people, but their son Nick, who had a lot of mental health issues, uh, for reasons or that will come clear, I suppose, eventually. Or maybe there isn't a reason, maybe it is just a mental health sort of break, psychotic break. Decided to take away these two people off this earth, the two people that have cared for him the most all these years and looked after him and tried to protect him. And we're going to talk about that case anyway, and the developments yesterday when Nick was supposed to be arraigned, but that just didn't happen again for the second time, because now his very high profile lawyer, Alan Jackson, he announced that he's withdrawing from the case, and now Nick is going to get a public defender. So we're going to talk about that. And then last of all, depending if we've got time, if we haven't got time, I'll talk about that in another time, is I'm going to react to a Nancy Grace video about the Idaho murders and Brian Koberger. Maybe have a look at what his sister has had to say recently, because his sister has spoken out. I'd like to talk about that a little bit, how difficult it must be for families of these terrible perpetrators when you're sort of conflicted between the fact this is your family member, you love them, I suppose, if they're your sibling, your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband, brother, sister, but you also hate what they've done, the terrible things that they've done. And then often the families of perpetrators, of course, they get vilified as well, sort of guilty by association, which is unfair if they didn't know anything about it. So anyway, we're going to talk about that. That's what we're going to talk about if we've got time at the end. But first of all, I just want to say my thank yous, as always. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Very special thank you to my members. And we will be back to Members Live tonight. Back to normal after all the holidays and everything. Everything seemed to happen on a Thursday. So if you want to support my channel, why not join the members? We do an exclusive members live stream every Thursday evening. Which if you can't actually join the live stream, you can of course watch it, be there on the for you to watch as elite replay crew. Another thank you, of course, to people who buy me Ko-fis, who send super stickers, who support my channel that little bit extra in that way. Thank you so much. It makes a massive difference to me. Thank you to those of you who email me with suggestions for cases or videos that you think I'll find interesting, etc. Thank you to those of you who leave nice comments. All these are the things that help keep my channel going in times when maybe sometimes it gets difficult, because, you know, covering true crime, it is difficult. It's sort of the sort of thing that you sort of, sometimes it can overwhelm your soul. It can be dark for your soul, you know, but it's still important, isn't it, to talk about and find justice one way or another. Even, you know, I'm not a detective. I'm here to chat about these true crimes, raise awareness. You know, there's very little that I can physically do, but we can say prayers, we can send out good thoughts to the families, we can hope for resolution for the families in cases that are unsolved. And just remember, you know, anyone who's become a victim of true crime, they deserve to be remembered anyway and spoken about one way or another. And every time their name is mentioned in a positive way, it's a good thing. And it's, you know, we can learn things as well. Sometimes it feels like there's little we can do, actually. But you know what? If all we can do is send out our positive thoughts and prayers, I think that's a good thing, to be honest. So, yeah, thank you for caring about all the victims that I talk about. Yeah. So now, oh, hello. Hello, lovely lurkers. My lovely lurkers are the people who like to watch, but maybe not watch the lives, but not necessarily join in the chat. Hello to replay crew, which is those of you who maybe can't catch the live for whatever reason. Maybe it's outside your time zone, or maybe you're at work or doing other things, but you catch up. You know, people tend to catch up when they can. So hi, replay crew, thank you for watching. And now I'm going to come in the chat and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to come into the chat. Okay, let's take the banner off. Oh, and see who's there. I always press the wrong button. Do you know, if there was an award for pressing the wrong button, I would definitely win it. Pressing the wrong button on the internet, I would definitely win that award. Oh my goodness. Okay. So it's funny because I enjoy so much doing the channel, but I hate all the bits around it, like the technology and the pushing the buttons and getting things right. I hate all that, but I like chatting, I suppose. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Lily. Hi, Daniel. Happy Thursday. Hi, Bluebell. How are you? Are you feeling better? Because you were poorly the other day. Hi, David. Yeah. Okay, so let me know how you all are, what the weather's like near you. It's still freezing here in Spain, but it is nice and sunny. It's 11 degrees, which is a little bit warmer than it has been sort of the past couple of days. Yeah, we've got blue sky at least. Now my tea has gone cold. I may have to make another cup of tea in a minute. I'll talk about the first case first. It's cold. I don't like cold tea. So let's talk about this dentist and his wife, Spencer and Monique. This case, I mean, is so mysterious. I don't think, you know, oh gosh, it's not letting me put a picture up because I've gone on, I'm taking a break from paid StreamYard because literally I'm brassy, that's why. And but you know, they're funny then about what they let you put. No, they won't let me put anything up. Okay, they won't let me put overlays or logos up. Okay, well, it's okay. We'll look at pictures as we go along. So, yeah, this awful case. This is a dentist and his wife. late 30s sort of age, two children. Seemingly, it seems that they were asleep in bed, wasn't it, in Columbus, in Ohio, in America. And whether they were asleep in bed or not is not clear, but it seems to be suggested. But what we do know is somebody walked into their house, literally no sign of forced entry. So they did not break into their house. So were they let in, or did they have the keypad code to get in? And shot this couple, shot both of them. They shot Spencer multiple times. Now, multiple, of course, we don't know, that could be anything from, well, two to sort of 10 or whatever, couldn't it? So we're not sure exactly how many times they shot Spencer, but it was more than once. They shot poor Monique once in the chest. That was enough to put her down. Maybe so it's unclear why Spencer got the brunt of the violence, more shots. Was it because maybe he didn't go down the first time? Was he the primary target? Or was Monique the primary target and Spencer just, was. We don't know who was the primary target, or maybe they both were. We know nothing really. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say. But the only good news was that this attacker did spare the children. So they have two children. One's 4 years old, one's 1 year old. They were in the property with them. Not clear exactly what rooms everybody was in, but the children were left unharmed. And according to to Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob, the children are not really aware yet of what has happened because they're only 4 and 1. So there's just, at least something. But of course, they're going to find out sooner or later, and they're going to grow up without parents. But yeah, the video was released of the suspect, that person walking the streets in the early hours of the morning, that the police seem to think is the person who did this terrible crime. But yeah, apart from releasing that footage, the police have been pretty quiet, really, haven't they? They haven't really released any details. Well, we've had all the 911 calls. So this was funny, wasn't it? There was 4 911 calls. It seems that the dentist surgery where Spencer worked, it seems like, first of all, the owner from that dentist surgery phoned the 911 from Florida, where he was on holiday, I presume, in Florida, unless he lives in Florida. Then several people from the dentist surgery went to the home. And you think, what, did they all just leave that dental surgery and leave all the customers there and all the patients there waiting to have done whatever why did they all go to Spencer's house? I do find that odd, to be honest, that everybody, or were they already aware that maybe there was some trouble? We don't know, maybe Spencer or Monique or both of them had expressed that they felt like they might be in danger. That we just don't know, because I just think when you work with somebody, anybody you work with, if they didn't turn up, like, you would be worried. If they say they were supposed to be there at, I think it was 8 o'clock, Spencer was supposed to be there. If they weren't there, he was generally on time, reliable. So yeah, and all those patients waiting for him. Yeah, you would think, but say it was 8 o'clock, 10 past 8, you'd think, oh, that's funny, he's not here, he's normally on time. And then it came to 8:30, you think, very strange. And then if you tried to get hold of him and you couldn't get hold of his wife. And of course, if you knew that there were children at the home and you're thinking, well, where are they? But I don't know if you would think of rushing over to the house. You may even ring the police for this welfare check like the boss did. But would you? Why did they all dash over to the house? Seems odd to me. Maybe it's because of knowing there were children in there. And when the police first went there, they did not hear the children inside, and then so people phoned again then and said, oh, there are children in there. And then somebody phoned and said that they could see a body in there. But how could they see the body if Spencer's body was supposedly next to his bed? You presume that the bedrooms are upstairs, and this was like a townhouse. So there's a lot of things that are not clear about, the whole situation. And the other day we looked at their wedding video, which I find particularly chilling, because I feel that the person who committed this crime may even be on that video. It may be someone from their inner circle, somebody who knows them. I do feel it's a targeted crime. I do feel it's somebody who knows them. But you know what? I don't know what else the police know. Maybe the police know differently from that. The other thing that I thought was a possibility. Now, it's hard to put your head in this murderer's in their head, because obviously if you're not that, you can't imagine. Nobody could imagine, or not many people could imagine, actually going around someone's house in the early hours of the morning and murdering them. Knowing that their children were in the house. But supposing this murderer knew that there were children in the house, because maybe they're an associate of Spencer and Monique. And then when the police first went round there, of course, they didn't hear the children. The police went and came away again. So maybe the person who did it does have a bit of a conscience, at least over the children. And, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is that why is one of those people, and this is pure speculation, one of those people that phoned again or went round there again? Was it because they were they the perpetrator, and were they concerned about the children? It seems, is that why there was so much? Because I think somebody who did not know Spencer and Monique would not care about the children, would they? Really, they wouldn't feel, that they wanted the children to be sorted, unless they just sort of, it was a random attack and then they got in there, realized they had 2 kids and felt terrible about it. No, it just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense, does it? But it does make sense to think that maybe somebody who knew them and knew there were children there would just determine that the children should get sorted, because otherwise I just don't understand this. Practically the whole dental practice went to the property. I think that's unusual. I don't think you would do that. I think you would maybe ring the police after a while, but remember, the police were rang only about an hour after Spencer was supposed to be at work, so they didn't wait that long before they phoned the police. But yeah, you can see that phone the police say, oh, this is unusual, this guy is very reliable, we can't get hold of him, we can't get hold of his wife, can you go and do a welfare check? But I don't know that you would all dash to the property. So anyway, that's just my opinion. Unless, of course, Spencer and or Monique had expressed any danger that they felt they might have been in. They might have been receiving some threats or having problems with someone who was stalking them or threatening them. Then you might, if your friend, colleague said to you, oh God, I'm really worried about such and such, because they're really angry with me, and they said they're going to do this and they said they're going to do that, and then the next day that person did not turn up at work, then you might take it more seriously, because you would think, oh my God, has this person done something? But so we don't know if Spencer had already said to the people at his clinic where he worked that he was having problems with somebody. That's a possibility, isn't it? Maybe that's why they seemed to panic so much when he didn't turn up. Just seemed a bit out, a bit of sort of over worrying, if you like. I mean, they were right in the end to worry, because of course the worst thing had happened to them, but just not sure in a normal situation, in normal life, Most people would not expect something like that to happen, would they? So very strange, I think, that there was this big panic to get down there. Hi, Moonbeam. So, hi, Julie. No, it's that I haven't. No, I'm on still on this laptop because my computer broke, didn't it, last week? My computer died a death, so I'm on a laptop. So that'd be why my sounds different. Hope you're well. Be glad that all the festivities are over with now. Hi, Lily Paulia. I can't remember if I said, yeah, so I forgot. I'm at that point now where I've forgotten who I said hello to and who I didn't. So if I didn't say hello to you, please come back in and say hello again, because you know where it's like I do sort of start waffling and then not waffling, but talking about the whatever it is I'm talking about, and then I can't always look at the chat, but I try every now and again to go back to the chat. So first, so that this is the first person I want to talk about. I want to talk about Spencer. As I say, no more developments as far as I know up to this point. But I just wanted to share this, which I thought was lovely about Spencer. There you go. I think you can see that. Let me just check because I'm on this laptop. Everything's more complicated than normal. Oh, it's not showing. Why is it not showing? Oh, why is that not? Let me just see if it's showing. Oh, I've had a technological nightmare, and this new year has been awful for technological things. Everything's gone wrong that you could imagine could go wrong. But never mind, it's only technology. But you know, it doesn't help when you're trying to do a live. It's not showing this video. Why is it not showing? I don't know. The thing is, the laptop that I'm on, it's so much slower than the computer was. Huh? Let's see. Yeah, so much slower because the thing that I had plugged into the computer to make the internet quicker, it won't fit into the laptop. So you know, it's much slower and it just doesn't seem to work the same. But anyway, there you go. There's not really anything I can do about it at the moment. Oh, there you go. It's come through now. It's come up now. It's come up. Just slow. Okay, as long as I know it's coming up. So, Spencer Tepe, remembered as a devoted mentor as the investigation into the couple's death continues. So, you know, everyone keeps saying what a lovely couple this was. And, you know, although we did have that, you know, there was a 911 call went out from the residence a few months before. A female, very upset, seemed to have been in an argument. Now, the brother-in-law said that that was not Monique, though it sounded like Monique, to be honest. But anyway, I don't know if it was Monique or not. Law enforcement have not commented on it, but it made you wonder, you know, is it? I just think these relationships that always appear perfect on the surface. I mean, no relationship is perfect, is it? At the end of the day, that's just the way it is. Anyway, so as investigators continue searching for answers in the deaths of Spencer and Monique Tepe, those who knew the couple say they want the focus to remain on their impactful legacy. So we've talked about the what happened. I want to talk about, um, as I say, they're like, what people are saying about them. They do seem to have been such a lovely couple. So one of the organisations that has come out to talk about them is Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio, where Spencer Tepe served as a Big Brother mentor for years. And through Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Spencer was matched with Hans Hernandez when he was in first grade, and what began as a mentorship grew into a lifelong bond. Spencer was always encouraging him to do more and go out of his comfort zone, said Hans's mother, Norma. Hans really looked at him as a role model. Hans went out to graduate from Purdue University and now works as an engineer in Wisconsin, an achievement his family credits in part to Spencer's steady, consistent presence in his life. And Monique also became part of that extended family. Hernandez recalled Spencer proudly introducing Monique to them and attending Hans's high school graduation together. So Jessica Rodriguez, a match support specialist with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio, worked closely with Spencer and Hans from the beginning. I get asked all the time for success stories, and this is one of the best, Rodriguez said. They stayed connected from first grade through high school and college. They never lost that relationship. And Rodriguez said that Spencer continued mentoring even as his life grew busier, starting a career, marrying Monique, and becoming a parent himself. After they bought their house, we were invited over, Hernandez said. That's when we were told at their house they were getting married, they were engaged. Spencer and Monique even hosted my whole family, who came from California and North Carolina at the wedding. So, I just wanted to talk about this because it just seemed to me, um, this is another example of what a lovely couple they appear to have been. And Spencer doing this mentoring for Big Brother, etc., Big Brothers and Sisters, and making such a positive, somebody feeling that he made such a positive impact on them, that they wanted to talk about it. You know, it just makes you wonder even more, what is the motive? Anyway, Rodriguez said that a lot of mentors find reasons to step back, but Spencer didn't. Hans was just part of his family. When we make matches and when we interview mentors, we always hope that the match relationship stays together throughout high school. And Spencer not only did that, but he continued. That's the best case scenario out of a match that we could make. He always went above and beyond. So, yeah, everybody seems to be saying, what a lovely couple they are. Now, going to what the police say, on Wednesday, which is yesterday, last night, I suppose, as far as Spain's concerned, there are no new updates to share at this time, Columbus Police said. We're looking for any information that would assist us in identifying the person of interest. We are also looking for any or all video from the area between 2 and 5 a.m. So that's the time that they've sort of doubled down on, isn't it? Between 2 and 5. Let's see, is this a video we can watch? Let's have a look. Right. So that was Spencer with his protege. Um, Hopefully the video will play. Come on. So yeah, seems like they were, everybody.
The Central Ohio community is still processing what happened to Spencer and Monique Tepe. The Columbus parents were found shot to death in their home the morning of December 30th.
As investigators search for answers tonight, we are learning more about the couple's lives, devoted parents, a loving partnership, and positive influences in their community. Aaron Simonek spoke with big brothers and big sisters of Central Ohio about Spencer's legacy.
Beyond the tragic headlines, Spencer and Monique Tepe were a devoted couple, committed parents, and positive forces in Central Ohio. Spencer will many, and to one young man in particular, through his work with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio.
People have siblings and family at home that supports them, but sometimes they need someone else, someone experienced, and they're there for you when you need them.
The mentorship program connects children facing adversity with mentors to ignite their potential. This testimonial video on Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio's YouTube page shows the special bond between Spencer and his mentee Hans from 2021.
My favorite thing about being a big has been how I've become part of his family and he's become part of mine.
Hans, a recent Purdue University graduate, now working as an engineer. His mom, Norma, says it was an instant match.
It's like encouraging him that in a way, in a positive way, that he knew he could do it.
A mentor turned lifelong friend.
Monique eventually came into Spencer's life, graduation party, and Spencer was excited to introduce her to your family.
Yes.
It really was like you guys were part of the family.
We were part of the family.
Jessica Rodriguez was Spencer and Hans' match support specialist, working hand in hand with them since Hans was in.
I think that this is a match that is one of the best stories out there because they went from 5 years old, first grade, all the way through high school and college.
When you're going through like hard times or when you're struggling with something, they're also there, so they can be a friend and supporter and a mentor all at the same time.
I'm really proud of him, and I'm excited to see what his future holds for him.
It's really a testament to the person he.
I mean, why is it that it's always these nice people that get taken from the world? The world needs people like Spencer, and presumably Monique was a similar type of person. The world needs these nice people, and they always seem to be the ones that get taken away, don't they? So, thing is, this is, even in their short lives, because of course, they weren't even 40, I don't think, at least they have left a legacy to be proud of, and especially Spencer in these Big Brother programs and things, and how he's affected the positive influences had on that particular young man.
Was because a lot of mentors could find an excuse to close the match, getting married, getting a job, having a child, but Spencer was different.
Spencer and Monique's deaths continue to make national headlines, but for the Hernandez family, the impact is profound.
Knowing them, seeing them at their house, how friendly they are, how it's hard to believe that there will be a person that will not like them.
The Tepe Circle tells us they don't want them to be defined by their deaths. Instead, remembering the kind-hearted people they were, with personalities that are rare to find in this world.
Yeah.
Warm, giving, strong, and loving.
Very
What is
rare.
your message to the person who would have such a violent reaction to this couple?
Did you have a family? It's like, why? Really?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
The Tepe family tells me private funeral arrangements have been set, as a suspect has yet to be determined. On your side in Columbus, Aaron Simonek, Fox 28 News.
Tonight, Columbus police remain tight-lipped about this investigation. They have declined multiple requests for on-camera interviews in recent days, explaining if they were to say exactly where they are in this case, it might tip off anyone involved.
Yeah.
Police did release this video Monday
Here's
night
the
showing a
video
person
again.
of interest they are trying to identify. They say they are following up on tips about this video, but if you know anything, Columbus police do want.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the killer. Definitely the killer. And, you know, they're walking towards the house. So they must have parked up the road, or maybe they live in the neighborhood. I don't know. But, you know, there they are. You can't see really anything of them. So it could be anyone, but they appear reasonably tall. There's, you know, people that have analysed it are saying they're at least, you know, just under 6 foot, probably. Sort of medium build. You know, we've talked about, I think they've got, you know, to me, they're quite a distinctive walk, a distinctive shape, broad shoulders, long legs. You know, but who is it? And there will be, this is the only video that the police have released, but they'll have more than this, I'm sure. The police might be pretty certain even now who did it, but they just wait, you know, they're putting their ducks in a row, and when they arrest this person finally, which I'm sure they will, I am 100% certain this case is going to be solved. I don't think for a minute that it's not going to be solved. It's a question of when rather than if. And the sooner the better, obviously. And I do think it's significant that the police aren't really, you know, coming out with a, oh, you know, keep all your doors locked. You know, if it was a robbery, some random person and going into their house, you know, why would a robber go into a house where there's 4 people in there, 2 adults, 2 children, and a dog? In the middle of the night. I mean, they just wouldn't do it. They've not even got a bag there with them to take anything away. All they've got there is the gun. They've gone there. Somebody, for some reason, hated this couple, or was so angry with them, or just with Spencer maybe, or just with Monique. There's a real anger, personal motive, but that personal motive does not extend to the children. I think they were very keen, you know, to make sure the children are okay. That's how it strikes me anyway.
To hear from you.
So, yeah, that's just what I wanted. I'll say no developments yet, further developments in this case. But I wanted to talk about Spencer and about that, you know, the big brother thing, and, you know, just sort of, we'll keep talking about this case until there is a break in the case, of course. So don't forget, press notifications, remember to subscribe. Any development in this case, I will be back to talk about it. Okay, so we're going to move on now and talk about what happened yesterday in Nick Reiner's well, it was supposed to be his arraignment, but it became, again, nothing happened again. So of course Nick was supposed to be arraigned before Christmas, and then that didn't happen because his defense lawyer was appointed, and it was the famous lawyer Alan Jackson, who defended Karen Reed, also has defended many high-profile clients and has a very high rate of success. And to me, it particularly resonates because it's probably the most recent one, the Karen Reed trial. I mean, people thought that Karen Reed, who ran over her policeman boyfriend, it seemed as clear as anything, you know, that she did it on purpose. But Alan Reed got her off, and you know, sorry, not Alan Reed, Alan Jackson got her off, and so it was a big, you know, when he was appointed to be Nick's defense lawyer, and he said he asked the judge for a delay to the arraignment because he couldn't decide. He said it was a very complicated, complex case. No plea was given. It still hasn't been given. There's still been no plea. And the arraignment was held over till 7th of January, which was yesterday. But still nothing. So the big bombshell that happened during the supposed arraignment yesterday was that Alan Jackson has stepped down. He requested to not, to be taken away as the defense lawyer. But he also had quite a lot to say on the steps of the courthouse, which he quite often does. I mean, we have to know that this man, he's a good defense lawyer. He's very good. He understands the theatre of the court, and he likes to do interviews on the steps of the courtroom because they're more dramatic, can't they? I would not be surprised if in the future he comes back as the lawyer of Nick Reiner. I feel like everything he does, you can't underestimate that it might just be to get more time or to, I don't know, cause drama and make everything more confusing. I wouldn't put any of that past him. So we may see him again in this case. So let's have a look at what happened. So just recapping the case itself, of course, this is Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, both sort of legends in Hollywood for different reasons. Michelle, a photographer, Rob, an actor, director, producer, you name it, he's done it. Coming into their golden years, 3 children. Nick is the middle child. I think he's 31, 32, something like that. And they've had problems with Nick since Nick was 13, 14 years old, with substance abuse, many problems, been in rehab, was it upwards almost 20 times or even more, I'm not sure. And he seemed to be doing well for a time, and then he relapsed. And anyway, lately he'd been diagnosed apparently as schizophrenic, and the doctors, psychologists were apparently messing about with his medication, experimenting almost with different medication. And this is going to be something that's brought up at his trial, that's for sure, as to why, while they were experimenting with his medication, and he was having apparently big problems in coping with the new medication, why was he not sectioned somewhere safe until they got him stabilized? Because he obviously was not stable, because it's resulted in him murder. I don't think there's any doubt that he murdered them. It was him who committed the act. I don't think anybody's going to be arguing that somebody else came in and did it. But the argument is going to be, was it insanity? Was it? I mean, who knows what? Because he hasn't pled anything yet. There's been no, no actual reason given, just a lot of talk. But nobody's actually said, well, he's not guilty because this is going to be the defense or whatever. So, of course, after he did it, I mean, the problem is that after he did it, and maybe even before he did it, was this a planned action? Because he checked into a hotel, which apparently he then went back to after he did it. And it was, again, we don't have official versions of what happened yet, but what people are saying is that the hotel room was full. Did he go back to the hotel room, shower, and then go back out again? He was in different clothes. He's caught on CCTV. When he was arrested, he was just wandering aimlessly. He'd been into a garage, bought a drink, was just wandering around, and then the police descended on him. It's not clear how the police knew where he was, whether he'd, said himself where he was, or they tracked him through data, or whether he told friends or family where he was. Anyway, they apprehended him, and he was on suicide watch all over Christmas, etc. But apparently, he's not on suicide watch anymore. So it's possible that in this interim period, have they now stabilized him and sorted his drugs out and everything? He's in a different frame of mind now. It's again, we don't know really, do we, the whole thing, but what we do know is that poor Rob and Michelle, who have tried their best all their lives to protect this boy, or this man as he is now, and with all the resources that they had at their disposal, they could not save him and they could not save themselves. So it does make you wonder, when families, when they're dealing with someone in their household who has got mental health issues, it's so very difficult, whether you've got resources or not. It's so difficult to deal with. And I think if I was going to give advice to anybody, because, thing is, parents particularly, they want to protect their children. So they're however old they are. So you've got to be aware of keeping yourself safe. That's the one thing. It seems like they had this big sprawling property, and of course Nick will have known his way around that property. He was brought up there, he lived there, but it's not a small place. He lived in like a guest place. It's not like somebody staying in your spare room. I mean, he had a wing all to himself, but it seems like he could just enter in Rob and Michelle's bedrooms, and maybe that's something you've got to be aware of when you've got people in your household that are going through the struggles that Nick was going through. It's important to make sure you stay safe certainly at night when you're asleep, because that's when you're at your most vulnerable. You cannot be awake all the time. You have to rest sometime. So you have to make sure you're secure. And of course, they'd been to that big Hollywood party. They'd been to a big Hollywood party. Conrad, can't remember his surname. Apparently, it's a big thing every year. It's a major event in the area. And Nick actually was not invited, but Rob and Michelle persuaded Conrad to let Nick come along, but he went along and started arguing with people. He went dressed, he wasn't dressed up, and it was a formal party. So an argument ensued at the party between Nick and his parents, apparently. And in fact, some people are reporting that the argument was so bad, some people wanted to call the police, ring 911, but anyway, that didn't happen. And did Nick leave first and then his parents, or did his parents leave first and then him? I mean, it sounds like it was an awful evening, and when the details come out, your heart just breaks for this couple, really. And for Nick, in a way, when we find out all the full details. So apparently the rest of the family have asked they've asked that Nick be spared the death penalty, because his two siblings, they don't want him to get the death penalty. They say he's seriously ill. He's very sick. And, I think Michelle and Rob, even though it's them who've ended up losing their lives, I don't think they would have wanted him to have the death penalty either. They'd probably still want to protect him now, because that's the kind of people they were. So let's have a look at what happened yesterday. Again, this is a crime that's got a lot of facets to it. It is a very complex crime. Anything to do with mental illness is always very complex, isn't it? So we're Alan Jackson. So this is Alan. He's the defense lawyer, or he was the defense lawyer. He's a prosecution lawyer. So whereas Alan is saying, even though Let's just stop it a sec. Even though Alan is saying he's stepping back from this case, he said clearly that he says, and he said, take it to the bank. He was adamant that Nick is not guilty. So he was still acting as if he was Nick's defense lawyer, even though supposedly he stepped back from the case. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if in the future he does step forward again. Whereas, of course, the prosecution lawyer is saying categorically Nick is guilty of murder. So, the games have started, if you like, the court games have started, even between a man who stepped back from the case. So, yeah, Alan Jackson says Nick Reiner not guilty of murder. Take it to the bank, he says. Well, you hear him now. So, let's watch this video.
As you know, my name is Alan Jackson. This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that.
Yeah, so he won't explain the reasons why. He says he's legally and ethically prohibited for giving the reasons why. So you can imagine that starts up all this speculation. Why has he withdrawn from the case? Why? Some people say it's about money, that Nick has no money and the estate is so, tied up in all the legalities and everything, that no payment can be made. Is it because of that? Or what else could it be, really? Why are the reasons why he might have withdrawn from the case? But he is still insisting that Nick is innocent. So it's strange, isn't it? And of course, it's easy to say, oh, I can't divulge the reasons because of ethical reasons or whatever. But, we just don't know. He's a very clever lawyer, this guy. So, as I say, don't be surprised if he pops back up in this case at some point.
It's a question on everybody's mind. We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests.
So we remain deeply committed to Nick Reiner and his best interests. So what does he mean by that? So a public defender has been appointed. But what does he mean by saying that? He's definitely going to be back in this case. This will be some sort of ploy. Maybe I'm just cynical, but I feel like it's part of the defense strategy.
In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case. A lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances. Speculation is in print. On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front. What we've learned, and you could take this to the bank.
Take it to the bank.
Is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Hockman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles.
That's what he says. Print that. Take that to the bank. Nick is not guilty. So have you ever noticed, this is the most curious thing. You've got a defense lawyer who stepped back, withdrawn from the case. A public defender has been appointed, and he's there on the courthouse steps proclaiming that as far as he's concerned, he's still working hard for Nick, and Nick is not guilty. Take it to the bank. Print that. Strange, isn't it? So I honestly think this might be part of his strategy, his defense strategy. Anyway, now we're going to hear the opposite. We're going to hear the prosecution lawyer saying why he thinks, or saying that he thinks Nick is guilty.
He is the Assistant Head Deputy of Major Crimes. He will be prosecuting this case. I'm here to make 3 points, and then I will not be taking questions afterwards. In our criminal justice system, every defendant is entitled to a lawyer who will zealously represent their interests and do so effectively. So too is Nick Reiner, whether it's Alan Jackson, someone from the public defender's office, or any lawyer. He's entitled to that lawyer, and we'll make sure he gets that lawyer. Second point, in the process of dealing with that lawyer, we will make sure, the DA's office will make sure that lawyer is provided with full discovery of all the facts that pertain to this particular situation, whether it's interviews, whether it's any type of video, whether it's any type of expert reports. We'll make sure that that lawyer gets the facts necessary to effectively represent their client in a court of law. And third point, we are fully confident that a jury will convict Nick Reiner beyond reasonable doubt of the brutal murders of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, and do so unanimously. Thank you very much.
Well, so there you go. So you've got total opposite statements there. You've got the defense lawyer, who's not the defense lawyer anymore, who's withdrawn. Alan Jackson standing there on the steps and proclaiming that Nick is not guilty. Take that to the bank. Write that. So although he's withdrawn supposedly from the case, sounded much to me that he was still working on the case. And then you've got the prosecution, the district attorney, Nathan Hockman, saying they're confident that a jury will unanimously find Nick Reiner guilty of murdering his parents, no matter who he has as a defense lawyer. So yeah, strange, isn't it? Why is that? Why did Alan Jackson do that? He's still involved in it one way or another. And he said, remember that the circumstances under which he had to withdraw from the case were beyond Nick's control. Here is, now there were no photos released. The cameras were not allowed. Well, we haven't seen any videos, I don't think, from the courtroom or not of Nick himself. This time he's not in a suicide prevention vest like he was last time, but there he is, he's shackled, he's got his prison uniform on, but apparently he's not on suicide watch anymore. So, and then a spokesperson for the Reiner family released a statement on his change of legal representation, saying they have the most utmost truth in the legal process, and they will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings. And a source told the New York Times the change had nothing to do with Alan's performance, and he had been a pro. And then at 9:52 a.m., it was declared that Nick Reiner's new attorney is public defender Kimberly Green, who has 19 years experience. Wonder what she thinks of it all, because, you know, walking in the shadow of Alan Jackson could be difficult. But having said that, if Alan Jackson is going to help her, and you know, this is a massive case, isn't it, to take on? I think there's a reason behind. I don't know. It feels to me there's some reason behind all this. Let's have a look at this video.
I spoke to him briefly this morning, but we haven't had a chance to discuss anything. I spoke to Mr. Reiner briefly this morning. He was understanding that there was going to be a change in counsel. We haven't had any in-depth conversation. I have not.
His former attorney says he's not guilty. Will he be pleading not guilty?
We'll discuss that with Mr. Reiner and see how to proceed.
Does Alan's decision complicate the case for you?
Not at this time. It's not uncommon for private counsel to turn over cases to us, so no, but nothing about that would complicate the situation. I have talked to him for only 30 seconds this morning, so no, I have no idea. I only spoke to Mr. Reiner for about 30 seconds.
These reporters, they've got a chance to ask this woman some questions, and they're all just asking her the same question. And she's had to repeat 4 times now. I only spoke to him for 30 seconds this morning. You know, I'm sure they could think of another question to ask that she actually could answer in a different way. But of course, I mean, in a way, there's nothing she can say at the moment. She's literally just been appointed as Nick's defense lawyer. You know, as she says, she only got a chance to speak to him for 30 seconds, so they haven't discussed a plea. She won't have had, you know, she's got to get the changeover from Alan Jackson, all the information he had, he's got passed over to her. You know, it's going to take time. So Nick's arraignment has now been put back another month, hasn't it, till February?
This morning, I have no comment about his mental state. I have not. We've had no contact with the family. I don't think they were aware that this was going on until this morning.
At this point in time, Ms. Green will look into the case. We'll speak with Mr. Reiner. And if you have any further questions, reach out to our media team once we have more information ourselves. This just happened today, and my understanding is he was aware of it. Ms. Green spoke with him, as you heard. And as soon as we have more information that we can share, we will share it.
So it seems that Nick was aware there was going to be a change of counsel, but the family weren't aware. And I mean, when they talk about Nick Reiner's family, I presume they mean his siblings. You know, apparently they didn't even know about it. It's only just literally been decided. So that's a strange one, isn't it? What will they make of it all? Maybe there is no money to pay a high-profile lawyer, and that's why he's had to take a public defender. Public defenders can be just as good as private defenders or prosecutors, I suppose, as well. You know, this woman has got 19 years experience. Some people don't become private lawyers, defense lawyers, or not because they're not any good at what they do, but because they don't want to do it privately. They want to do it, you know, for the sake of, how can I put it? It's like if a teacher works in a public school, they could go and work in a private school, but they want to help maybe in the public school because, you know, they think that they're more needy of good teachers than a private school. You know, so this is a similar thing, I would imagine. Some people think that people who don't have money deserve good defence all the same, just as good as someone who has got money and can afford some hotshot defence lawyer. So, yeah, we don't know much about this woman, but what we do know is she's had 19 years. 19 years experience. Kimberly Green. So she's the new one in the spotlight. So the judge signed off on Nick's change of legal representation and set up a new arraignment date for February the 23rd. So more than a month away, isn't it? 6 weeks. Nick spoke up in court saying, yeah, I agree with that. And then Nick left the courtroom, went back to jail. He has no bail. He's not going to get bail, is he? Well, he wouldn't. It would seem impossible that he would get bail. And Alan is about to address the media, and we watched that. Let's just, this was when he addressed the courtroom.
So calling People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC F08098.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who was present in court out of custody. I'm sorry, in custody.
Thank you.
On behalf of Morton Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding, based on that, yes, we provide first. You feel that we have no choice, but to withdraw, so it has to be.
No choice.
The Public Defender's Office has been notified. We've had conversations with them. The appointment immediately, forthwith.
Entitled, you have a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment. Your counsel, Ms. Green from the Public Defender's Office, is requesting that your arraignment be continued to February the 23rd, 2026. In this department, do you waive your right to be arraigned today so that your matter may be continued to February 23rd, 2026 for arraignment?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Is counsel joining that waiver?
I do.
The court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment, and that his counsel of record joins in that waiver. Matter set for arraignment in this department, February 23rd, 2026. Bail remains at no bail.
So yeah, remains no bail. We could hear Nick couldn't see Nick, but we could hear him in the background there saying, yeah, he agreed with it. You know, he sounded quite sort of compos mentis, didn't he? But of course, you never know. But yeah, he was not in his suicide prevention outfit thing. But you know, so does that mean he's, you know, is he better? Has he been stabilized? Have the drugs stabilized? Maybe he doesn't even remember what he did. Are they going to sort of present that? Be very interesting to see what defense they come up with there. And I think it's very intriguing that Alan, although he's withdrawn from the case, felt he could stand there on the courtroom steps and proclaim that Nick was innocent, take that to the bank, write that. You know, he's still involved in this case. He'll keep involved just for the notoriety of it. You know, there's a lot of publicity. This case, you know, I was thinking about it last night. Even the actual court, if it goes to a trial, which it's going to be like a Hollywood sort of A-list trial, isn't it? Because all those people, the famous people that were at that party at Conrad's the night before, they'll probably be called to give evidence. So there's going to be a lot of famous people giving evidence at this trial. So it's going to be a bit of a show trial, no matter which way you look at it. If it goes to trial, you know, if Nick doesn't accept some sort of plea deal, if they don't, you know, hammer out some sort of plea deal beforehand. And you know what? No matter what the outcome of it, this poor couple, they're dead, aren't they? They're dead, brutally murdered by their own son. How awful. I hope they didn't know anything about it, to be honest. But I do think even if they were still alive today, they would want the best defence for Nick, wouldn't they? They would want the best defence for him. He's their son. They've protected him all his life, right or wrong. This is what people do with their children. Even adult children, even though they don't treat them very nice. That is just what parents do, isn't it? So I think even if Robert and Michelle were still here, they would still want him to have the best defence possible. You know, that's just the way it is and the kind of people they were. So I was reading another video I'll make about them. Apparently they were in touch with a guy who's on death row that they'd sort of taken under their wing, and on that very night, the night before the horrible things happened, I think Michelle had been in touch with this guy. You know, they keep in touch with him. He's on death row. He claims his innocence, and they seem to have sort of, you know, be championing him. But I'll do that in another video. We'll talk about that. So I'm just trying to say what kind of people they are. They, again, like Spencer and Monique, you know, people that tried their best to help people. And even, you know, anyone, you know, they were liberals. And of course, there's a lot of people, apart from Trump, who of course is just a twonk anyway. He's got no grace whatsoever. Even people on the other side of the political fence have said, like, you know, that they were nice people. Obviously acclaiming Rob and Michelle's work. You know, it doesn't matter about politics when something like this happens. You know, if you're a normal person, unlike President Trump, you would feel the empathy for the family and for what had happened to them, regardless of your political views. You know, political views are just political views. They're human empathy is, you know, for all of us. Doesn't matter whether we're left wing or, you know, half baked. It doesn't matter, does it? You know, this is human emotions. Politics is different from human emotions. Anyway, okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you about what happened or what didn't happen, if you like, at the arraignment yesterday for Nick. As always, let me know what you think. Do you think Alan has really withdrawn? Or do you think he's going to be there pulling the strings of this public defender and then pop back in maybe nearer the time, nearer the trial? Or has he withdrawn properly? And what do you think the reasons are that he has withdrawn? And now we've got to wait till February, was it the 23rd or anyway, in the end of February before we find out any more about this. And of course, by then, Nick, one thing about Nick being in prison, hopefully he is receiving psychological help, and, you know, they can experiment with his medication while he's in prison and he's locked safely in a cell and he can't hurt other people. If it comes down to this sort of argument that, you know, they were experimenting with his medication, and while they were doing that, you know, the Reiners weren't safe. That seems to me then it's going to be like the psychologists or whatever, or the psychiatrists are going to get sued because, you know, if they experimented with his medication and that's what made him violent, you know, they're going to be in trouble, aren't they? So is that going to be part of the way this goes? Anyway, where are we? What time are we on? Right. I think what I'm going to do is the video that I want to react to about the Idaho 4 murders, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to show it in the members tonight and then release it later after. So that video that I'm going to talk about, it's a very good video from Nancy Grace, where she's put together the main elements of the Idaho 4 killings in a very sensitive way. And seeing it like that, the way it's presented, you just think what these poor kids went through, you know, just, and how the police actually, I think it's been sort of, you know, sort of the police get a bad press, don't they, law enforcement in general, with cases. They don't work quick enough, or they don't do this, or they don't do that. And of course, all that was going on in the Idaho 4 case. A lot of criticism, why hasn't they caught the perpetrator? But it turns out, of course, they were quietly working behind the scenes, and they had their eyes firmly fixed on Brian Koberger right from the beginning, really. But again, they just, like, I think this might be the case in Spencer Tepe, Spencer and Monique Tepe case. I think the police probably do know exactly who's done it, but they've got to gather everything together, all the evidence, make sure that when they do present this case, just like with the Idaho 4 case, it's airtight. And then, of course, in the end, Brian, he had to accept a plea deal, didn't he? And he escaped the death penalty, which is, you know, a bit galling really, because he killed 4 bright young people who had their whole lives in front of him for no reason that we can think of, you know, except that he's like just a psycho. You know, so he did, and that, I mean, I'm not in favour of the death penalty, but then it wasn't my child that was murdered. You know, I don't know how the parents and the family of those 4 victims, I think they were pretty annoyed, actually, weren't they, that this plea deal was made and they just didn't even know about it. So, yeah, that comes up in this video. So I'm going to react to that video. I'm going to do that in the members tonight, and then we will, I will release it later, like as a premiere or something. But yeah, I hope you found that video interesting. What's happening, certainly what's happening with Nick Reiner. And then as far as the dentist is concerned, Paul Spencer and his wife Monique, I think hopefully it won't be long before we get the proper answers or somebody's arrested. That's what we're waiting for, isn't it? We want this arrest. We, you know, as the general public, God knows how the family feel. They feel even more strongly, of course. But even the general public, when it's a case like this, people want someone to be held accountable as soon as possible. So don't forget, whoever did this to Spencer and Monique, they're wandering around free as a bird, aren't they? Maybe not free as a bird. Maybe they're being followed by the police, like Brian Koberger was. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're still wandering around. They haven't been arrested yet. So we want to see that as soon as possible. But I do feel that it won't perhaps be that long. I hope not. Anyway, hope it won't be as long as in the David and Celeste Rivas case. You know, sometimes it just seems to take forever, doesn't it? Okay, so thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about all these people that are the victims that I talk about. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you.